Welcome to the Critical Few Actions to Improve Your Business podcast. I'm John Downs and I'm here to help you cut through the overwhelm and prioritise what matters most to improve your business. Let's get started and discover the critical few actions that have the biggest impact. Hi there, I'm your host, John Downs, and welcome to the Critical Few Actions, the podcast that's here to help you cut through the noise, defeat the overwhelm, and focus on what really matters. If you've ever felt like there's just too much to do and not enough time to do it, you're not alone. In this podcast, we'll explore how to zero in on those critical few actions, the ones that, if you did nothing else, would have the biggest impact on improving your business. Now, let me share a bit about my journey and why I'm so passionate about this. I started my career, believe it or not, as a jackaroo on a cattle station in Western Victoria. Not your typical consulting start, right? But it was there in the blistering summer heat that I got my first real insight into team dynamics and the power of culture. My first consulting recommendations were delivered in the front seat of a ute to my boss on the 5-hour drive back to Melbourne one weekend. I was hooked on the power of taking observations, deconstructing the underlying issues, and how to deliver meaningful and insightful improvement ideas. From there, I joined Deloitte as a graduate accountant, learning the ins and outs of IT systems in Melbourne and business valuations in London, and what it takes to make a business saleable and bankable. This meant understanding the value of strategy, how to build revenue, and the importance of profitability and cash flow, leadership, and learning from the performance of the organisation. These experiences taught me that the difference between success and failure often comes down to focus, and that's a lesson I've carried with me throughout my career. I then moved into big consulting, where I began to see a pattern. Companies were overwhelmed by trying to do too much at once. Anyone can come up with 20 ideas to improve a business, but frankly, that was pretty unhelpful, as it just led to overwhelm, fractured, manic attempts to fix everything simultaneously that then led to frustration and tissue rejection. What really mattered was ruthless prioritisation, focusing in on the one or two key actions that would deliver real, lasting value. This realisation took me across the globe, from Melbourne to Chicago, across 40 states in America, before I returned home to build my own consulting practice focused on my favourite client type, mid-market businesses, those that had between 5 and 200 staff that were nimble, dynamic, and not burdened by bureaucracy. Running my own mid-market business was the steepest learning curve yet. Nothing prepares you for becoming an expert on the 75 facets of a business that determines your business success or failure. But it reinforced everything I'd learned. Success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. Doing everything just leads to burnout, shitty customer experience, and unhappy staff. So let me share a story that brings this all to life. Just last week, I was talking with Asunta, a new CEO with a mandate to drive change in her organisation. She had a 100-day plan packed with new initiatives, all of them good ideas. Existing business lines were reviewed, some were invigorated, some were challenged, and new ones were created. Business processes in the factory and assembly areas were revamped, and a new way to manage stock and throughput were implemented. Revenue was an issue, and so merchandising and selling techniques were activated. But she hit a wall. The staff were overwhelmed, the board was getting restless, and instead of small wins, she was facing a full-scale revolt. What went wrong? Simply put, she tried to do too much, too fast. We talked it through, and I helped her see that she needed to slow down, ruthlessly prioritise, and focus on just one or two critical actions. It was a tough lesson, but it was the only way to turn things around. And that's where the organisation, performance and value framework comes in. This framework is built around 6 key levers that every CEO can pull to improve their business. 1. Vision and strategy. What's our why and where are we headed? 2. Build revenue. How do we create demand and serve our customers better? 3. Deliver profitability. How do we retain profit after all our expenses? 4. Support people performance. How do we create a culture that drives success? 5. Drive asset returns. How do we max the return from our assets? And 6. Deliver organisation learning. How do we learn, adapt and grow? Each of these levers is crucial, but you can't pull them all at once. That's why we focus on the critical few actions within each area, ensuring that every move you make drives real, measurable progress. It's my opinion from over 30 years of working with and in businesses that you can only make 1 or 2 significant changes in a business in a year and make them stick to deliver real results. And that's how I came to the point of ruthless prioritisation, down to those critical few actions that if you did nothing else would have the biggest impact on delivering the vision. It's become my mantra and of the CEOs that I work with. And by doing that, they implement better because they can. They are less overwhelmed because there are fewer moving parts to be bolted onto that 747 as it's rolling down the runway. And they are more successful because the changes are getting done the right way, with focus, and they have a chance of them sticking, rather than just being another whim that didn't last. So, as we embark on this journey together, I challenge you to think about your own business. What are those 1 or 2, those critical few actions that you could focus on right now to drive the most significant impact? Write them down. What does that success look like? How will you measure it? And how will you celebrate it? In our upcoming episodes, you'll hear from experts in each of these areas, as well as from business owners who've walked this path before you. We'll dive into their stories, their strategies, and the lessons they've learned along the way. I'm thrilled to have you here, and I can't wait to see how we can help you focus, prioritise, and succeed. Join me in the next episodes as we dive into a variety of interviews to share together. I'll talk about my 5-step process for developing a strategic plan you will execute on. We'll meet the founder, Lisa Vincent, and hear her share how she built a world-leading learning management web business during COVID and the lessons she learned along the way. And we'll meet the expert Rich Hawker, talking about how to drive fantastic customer experience. This will just get us started. Until then, remember that I'm all about you getting pleasure, fulfillment, and a sound financial reward from your business. So, thank you for listening, and let's get started on making those critical few actions work for you. Thanks for listening to the Critical Few Actions podcast. Don't forget to subscribe where you listen to podcasts, follow us on LinkedIn for more insights, and share the show with other business leaders. Stay focused and take action. The Critical Few Actions podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only and is not individualised business advice, nor can it be relied upon as such. You must take responsibility for your own advice, decisions, and actions.